What's going on, boys and girls, and welcome back to another episode of Eating Shit. If you're new here, the point of this show is to quickly come on here once a week and share the lessons I've learned with you guys in real time so you don't have to make the same dumbass mistakes that I have, or just learn from my experiences in general. If the episode provided value for you, share the show on your story or send it to someone you think would benefit from it. And also, do me a favor, throw up a 5-star review on the podcast app or thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. So quick lesson from this week. Not a new lesson for me, but I definitely got reminded of it. So my buddy Cody has a podcast called Code Unlocked, and I was on there. We shot for like 2 hours. A lot of fun, just shooting the shit. We used to work together. We used to live together. We used to work together at the valet, all that stuff. And then he actually asked me, we were talking about some stuff that I've mentioned on this podcast before about like programming and, why people are the way that they are. And then, he was asking me about phase 3. If you guys know the 75 hard program, there's 75 hard, and then there's phase 1, 2, and 3 to complete the whole live hard program. So in phase 3, a couple of things that you have to do in that is talk to a stranger and do a random act of kindness for the day. So doing phase 3, I knew that those would be the two hardest parts for me just because of my programming and how I am. So we were kind of going over that, and an example came up because he asked specifically on, going up to strangers and talking to people, because that is such a challenge for me on, how I did that or when I counted it or when it didn't count, stuff like that. So, on Andy Frisella's podcast, when he was explaining phase 3, he specifically said, if you just say, hey, how's it going to someone as you're walking by them, that doesn't count. You actually have to talk to the person. So I didn't have a number of exchanges back and forth or a number, a time limit or something that made it count. I just did it until it felt like it counted to me. But the example that we brought up on the podcast is because of my schedule, I'm at the office all day. It would be very often where I didn't even really get a chance to talk to a stranger sometimes. And so on the way home, I would have to stop at the gas station to buy a coffee that I could have the next day that I didn't even really want or need, just so I could get the chance to talk to a stranger, whether it was the gas station employee or someone that was at the gas station or whatever. So the stereotypical gas station employees, that's one of my biggest pet peeves when you ask someone, hey, how's it going? And they'd say, living the dream, but it's just a sarcastic tone and they're really just fucking hating whatever they're doing. So, talking to a lot of those people, it was interesting to see during phase 3 with only a couple questions back and forth, 30, 45 seconds, a minute of total exchange, how much different, their mood got after that conversation. They go from that living the dream, hating everything person. And, I would just ask them, how's your day going? Oh, man, it's all right. And then, yeah, how long you been working here? Oh, I've been working here for 6 months. Oh, do you like it? No, I hate it. Be like, oh, why is that? And then just making little small talk like that. And even if it didn't really go I'm not trying to be a positive impact on them, or I wasn't saying anything particularly uplifting. If they say oh, no, I don't like it. Oh, why is that? Oh, because my shift sucks or something. It's oh, well, do you think that there's maybe a chance that you get on another shift? They're like, nah. I'd be like, oh, well, maybe it's time you look for a new job then. They're like, yeah. And then by the time this small conversation happened, you can just see them kind of light up a little bit. And it's really weird to study that type of behavior. And that was kind of the lesson that I got reminded of, is one, for me, I just need to talk to more people. And two, the ripple effect is a real thing, not even trying to put positive shit into the world, but just by doing that, definitely with positive shit too. But, just by doing that little bit, that definitely, you could see the gas station employee go from this fucking sucks to there's some decent people left in the world. And what we were talking about on the podcast is it makes total sense, because if you think of just gas stations in general, the people who are going inside to buy something, you know, it's like they're buying cigs or they're buying alcohol, they're buying fucking poison food. Like that's the only shit that they sell at gas stations, and Pug sunglasses. So like your typical gas station clientele has the same exact attitude as the employee that fucking hates his job and just like can't figure out how to get out of his own way. So if you have that little pattern interrupt for them, it's like a big deal for them. It probably, like, I didn't really think of it like that, but Code brought it up where it's like, yeah, you probably like really improve their day, or like that could even change someone's life or something like that. And it's like, yeah, that's totally true. And that's kind of how the ripple effect works with posting content too. It's like, you know, people always feel weird posting content, and like I kind of feel weird doing this podcast sometimes, but you know, it's not really like, yeah, it's for me and it's good for me to do all this shit, but at like the core level, it's really for other people. And that's how I always try to treat it. It's like, especially with this show, it's like, how can I just provide value? Like, what did I learn this week? What did I get reminded of this week that would be valuable for other people to hear? But even like a TikTok, this is something else we talked about on the podcast. It's like, you feel weird posting a TikTok about like making money or whatever, or doing business or whatever you're going to post about. And then, you know, even if you don't get very good reach, if you post a lot, it's very, very likely that, you know, some random person sees your video and they might not even remember that video as being like impactful or follow you or whatever. But that one video could totally like open up their eyes. It could be some like 18-year-old kid that sees a video about making money, and that's the first time he's ever really been exposed to it. Like, oh wow, there's more out there than 50, 60,000 a year. And maybe it takes him 5 or 10 years to like do anything or become successful or whatever, but you really can change people like that. And another good example of that is like the dumbest thing I think I post every day on the way into the gym at 5:30. I take a picture of the outside of the gym. I put the timestamp, 5:30 every day. And I can't remember if I told this story in episode 1 of this podcast or not, but the reason why I started doing that is because I was getting annoyed that at people, like I'd see people just around or at the track or whatever, and they would always ask me like, what do you do? Almost like as far as fitness goes. And it's not, they're not being malicious or anything asking, but the way, the tone that it was being said all the time was that they were expecting me to give them an answer that like I had some fucking secret sauce. And if they only knew this one piece of information, then they could be fit too without doing any work, or, you know, like they're missing something. And like, it's not that at all. Like I don't really even fucking train particularly hard or anything. It's just the same. You just do the right thing over a long period of time. It's fitness, like work out and eat right. And over a few years, you'll be fit. It's not fucking rocket science. There's no secret sauce. That's all you have to do. So then I got sick of having that conversation. So I just started posting every day, going in the gym. And I had been going every day, I just never posted about it. And I still really don't post about it all that much as far as like workouts go or anything like that. Sometimes if we're doing a workout that's pretty easy to film, I'll remember to do it. But I just take that picture of the outside of the gym every single morning. And no one asks me that anymore because it's obvious, like, oh, he just works out every day. Like, yeah, it's not fucking rocket science. I think that's the dumbest, like least valuable thing that I post. But that is by far the most commented on thing. Because now instead of people saying, what do you do? They comment about how, oh, I see you in the gym every morning or whatever. And it's funny because, or you get DMs, you know, the same thing, like, man, it's crazy how much you work out or how consistent you are, or whatever it's going to say. But just think about like how many more people think that same thing. They just would never say anything to me about it. And that is a great example of the ripple effect. Like, I'm not telling anyone to work out. I'm not giving anyone fucking workout advice. All I'm doing is posting on the way into the gym. And that makes people want to work out, or that makes people like understand consistency and things like that. So simple, but very effective example of the ripple effect. couple of wins this week. Wes and I had our Q2 meeting on Friday. I think that was just overall a win because every time we do our quarterlies or annual meetings, we just get better and better with like running the meetings the way that they're supposed to be run, and the outcomes of the meetings, like just being focused and having like clear expectations of what's going on. And then the tools that are being built, over time. So this meeting was, again, just like progress of getting better and better in the meetings where it's like, oh, we actually like track all this shit now so we can see like how did the marketing perform last quarter? Like, did we hit all of our metrics last quarter? Like, easy to now set new metrics for quarter two. And it's just been, we've been more focused than ever in Q1 because we had to be. So we're just trying to figure out how to keep that focus, keep that level of like intensity and urgency on everyone, and just becoming better leaders and doing all that stuff. So just that meeting and just getting those other affirmations that we are getting better and like shit's running more of how it's supposed to. Those are always good things to see. So that about wraps it up for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe if you're on the podcast app too. And we will see you next week.